Okay. Ready.
Ready? Hi everyone, my name is p3.final.mmkrtchyan and I'm part of the Criminal Justice Group. Picture yourself being a parent of a teenage boy. Your son has been missing and you report it to the police. The police assume your son is a runaway and don't look into it. This was the case for many parents while the predator John Wayne Gacy was on the loose. Serial killers have always fascinated me, but no one has caught my attention like John Wayne Gacy has. But John Wayne Gacy was more than just a serial killer. He was a person too and a convicted felon. Today, I would like to give you all insight into the life of John Wayne Gacy, the good, the bad, and the ugly. He was born on March 17, 1942. He was indifferent to school and was never a bright student. At 11, he was hit on the head with a swing, which caused periodic blackouts, and at 16, he was diagnosed with a heart condition and began taking medication for it. His father was an alcoholic who often abused members of the family. John, being the only son, was abused the most. His father often referred to him as a sissy. He went on to marry Marlynn Myers, but the couple later divorced. They had a son and a daughter. He later married again, but his second marriage also ended in a divorce, and I got that information off a book titled The Man Who Killed Boys by Clifford L. Leindecker. Gacy had a troublesome early life. One could speculate that that was the cause of his vicious behaviors later to come. He was first arrested in March 1968. 2 boys accused him of sexual assault, and he was found guilty of sodomy and sentenced to 10 years in Iowa State Prison. He was paroled for good behavior in 1970. And I found that information off an article titled John Wayne Gacy Jr. by Allison Isong. He preyed on teenage boys who, if reported missing, could have been considered runaways or not deeply looked into. He would lure the boys in by showing them the handcuff trick. He would handcuff them and pretend it was some sort of magic trick. After luring them, he would rape them. Then he would strangle them using the rope trick, a method of knot tying he learned as a Boy Scout. And I found that information off a website, devabatory.tripod.com, and it was an article titled Crawl Space of the Killer Clown. He went on to kill over 30 boys. Here is a picture of only a handful of the Gacy victims. After his last victim, Robert Peace, went missing is when law enforcement shifted their attention to him. Gacy's home had an awful stench, and it was later discovered that it was the smell of rotting bodies. Now that we know how evil Gacy was, it's time to learn how he paid for his crimes. Gacy was ultimately charged with the murders of 33 young boys. He pled guilty by reason of insanity, and several psychologists supported this by diagnosing him as a schizophrenic. Gacy was found guilty on all 33 counts. He was sentenced to death by lethal injection and was executed on May 10, 1994 in Statesville, Illinois. And I found that information off an article titled John Wayne Gacy by John Philip Jenkins at Britannica.com. His final words were, quote, "Kiss my ass," and I found that information off Clifford L. Leindecker's The Man Who Killed Boys. During his execution, the tube containing the lethal injection clogged up, and his death took longer than expected, and that information came from the Crawl Space of the Killer Clown article. After Gacy died, Dr. Helen Morrison requested his brain for an autopsy to check for abnormalities. It was later proved that Gacy had a perfectly normal brain. And I found that information off Sharon Cohen's Doctor Wants to Unravel Serial Killer Mystery on the LA Times. I also found this quote by Dr. Morrison in that article. "What makes a serial killer? After all these years, I still don't know. We try to give them motives, but they don't have any. They just do it." In closing, John Wayne Gacy paid for his crimes with his life. Unfortunately, 33 lives were lost, and nothing can be done to change that. Hopefully, by using him and other serial killers as an example, doctors will finally be able to crack the serial killer mystery. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was